Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease. Available on the App Store and Google Play. You can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps on your phone. Using the My Hingham app puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, and info about our boards, committees, departments, and services. For more information, please scan the QR code on your screen.
It is 6 o'clock on Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. This meeting of the Hingham Select Board is called to order. I'm going to note for the record that this meeting is being held in person and/or remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Act of 2025 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording.
Recording in progress.
Is anyone recording tonight's meeting? All right, seeing none, I'm going to note for the record that participated in tonight's meeting are board members Julie Straley, Elizabeth Klein, and Chair William Ramsey. For those willing and able, please stand and face the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we move to our next agenda item, I wanted to note that over the weekend, Betty Foley passed away. Betty was really just, a wonderful person and really an institution here at Town Hall. I just wanted to read something briefly before we moved on. Betty graduated from Arlington Catholic High School in 1966 and Regis College in 1970. She went on to break down barriers as a leading woman in a traditionally male business at Sunoco. After leaving Sunoco, Betty served the town for many, many years, starting in 1991. From 1996 to 2016, Betty served as the assistant town administrator and for a short time as the acting town administrator. Many of the procedures we follow today were implemented by Betty during her time in the Select Board office. Betty was always quick to help others less fortunate than herself. She spent many years helping to organize the Giving Tree at Christmas time at St. Paul's in Hingham and dedicated her weekends to stocking the Hingham Interfaith Food Pantry. While dedicated to her work in her community, Betty's true passion was her family, her husband Tom of 49 years, her children and grandchildren. Betty and Tom was a true pillar of the Bradley Woods community, always going out of her way to help neighbors. On a personal level, I will forever appreciate Betty, as well as her daughter Katie, introducing me to my wife Adrienne many years ago. Tom, Katie, Liz, Tommy, and her entire family are in our thoughts this evening, and we're thinking of the Foley family. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We proceed with do we have minutes tonight? I don't think we do. All right, no minutes to approve tonight, so we'll move next to consider the application. Well, actually, item 4 was an application for a restaurant common vic license, all alcoholic beverages license by Salty Days Hingham, has requested a continuance until October 21st, 2025, so that continuance is granted. Moving on to the next item, which is to consider approval of the issuance of a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Galley Kitchen and Bar for the Mad Love Music Festival to be held at the South Shore Conservatory on Sunday, October 12th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Do we have Brian or Kathleen on the line with us tonight?
Brian is here. We'll get him in.
Brian, good evening. Can you hear me? He's coming. Oh, here he is.
That's fine.
Brian, are you there?
He's on mute.
Oh, he's still muted.
No, he's on mute.
Brian, you might be muted on your end. All right, we're working on that. I'm going to move on to item number 6, because I see Deirdre here in the audience. Deirdre, good evening. That item, that agenda item is to consider the approval of the issuance of a special one-day all-alcoholic beverages license to the Hingham Historical Society for Tavern Night to be held at the Old Ordinary on Saturday, October 18, 2025, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I'll preface this agenda item by saying, I've already bought my tickets, so I'm good to go. So go ahead, Deirdre, tell us about this wonderful event that we hold annually.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
You're good.
Thank you so much, Chair. Deirdre Anderson, I serve as the Executive Director of the Hingham Historical Society, and we appreciate your consideration for our application. This is our annual fundraiser where we tent the parking lot at the Old Ordinary property at 21 Lincoln Street and celebrate the Hingham's 17th century tavern by serving beer and wine and mixed drinks and food and have live music. And about 9 o'clock in the evening, we ask for the community attendees support through a auction and raising their mug or paddle to support the work of the Hingham Historical Society.
Great. Well,
This is our 6th tavern night.
it's a wonderful event. I think I've attended every one. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. So I have no questions. You do a wonderful job with it, and it's a very, very well-organized event. Let me see if Liz has any questions.
No questions. I know it's a well-organized, well-managed event. I see that Chief Jones has signed off on it, and the application is in order, so no
Great.
questions.
Julie, any questions?
No, I just wanted to repeat that it's a wonderful event, and I've been before, and I'm sorry to say I'm going to be away that weekend this year, so I'm going to miss it. But you do such a really good job, and the police do a really good job of making sure people can cross the street okay, and that there's enough, safety measures in place, so thank you.
Great, thank you.
Do any members of the public have any questions or comments about this agenda item? All right, seeing none, I take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of a special one-day all-alcoholic beverages license to the Hingham Historical Society for Tavern Night to be held at the Old Ordinary on Saturday, October 18th, 2025, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Good luck, Deirdre.
Thank you so much.
See you then.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to return to item 5, which is to consider approval of the issuance of a special one-day for Galley Kitchen for the Mad Love Music Festival. I've already read the agenda item into the record. So, Brian, we see you. Can you hear us okay?
All right. I can hear you good. I can hear you fine.
All right, Brian, tell us about your event.
Perfect. So I believe this is the 11th one. We come in, we have a food truck that we bring, and then we also serve beer, both drafting cans and wine at the event. We have I believe it's 6 servers and a few cooks and stuff like that. We serve from 11 to 5.
All right. Brian, how many people do you anticipate attending this year?
I believe they said, last I heard was 600 or 700.
All right, I think the police department has already signed off on it. This is an annual
Yeah.
event that we've had. The police department has noted there's been no problems in the past with past events, so great to hear that. Julie, any questions?
No questions.
Liz, any questions?
No questions. I know this is a great event. Thank you, Brian, for participating again. Just a comment on Chief Jones's request for a detail, 2 officers, so I'm sure the conservatory has that covered.
Yes.
Great.
All right, any members of the public have any questions or comments about this agenda item? All right. Seeing none, I take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of a special one-day wine and malt beverage license to the Galley Kitchen and Bar for the Mad Love Music Festival to be held at the South Shore Conservatory on Sunday, October 12th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Best of luck with your event.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you.
we'll see
You
you.
have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is to consider the agreement with East Coast Seal Coating Incorporated for the repair and resurfacing of 6 tennis courts located at 0 Burr Road. David, coming up to the microphone if you don't mind. Mark, you want to come up and present? And David, stand by for questions. Mark, just name and address, musician Mark.
Mark Thorell, Recreation Director. Cronin Tennis Courts is one of Hingham's most heavily utilized recreational courts that is enjoyed by the entire tennis and pickleball community. Presently, we have over 2,800 linear feet of cracks running throughout the 6 courts. We are hoping to repair all 2,800 linear feet of cracks and to resurface the 6 tennis courts. The Right Way crack repair system utilizes a layered approach of specialized fabrics, micro-sealant tape, and acrylic binders to create a waterproof and flexible membrane that allows cracks to move without rupture, preventing issues like dead spots or bubbling. This membrane allows the underlying cracks to expand and contract with temperatures changes and movement without breaking the repair. After the membrane dries, acrylic surface paint will be applied to resurface all 6 courts. The Right Way crack repair system is a cost-effective way to extend the useful life of the 6 tennis courts. We appreciate your consideration on approving the contract for East Coast Seal Coating to perform this work. This vendor has successfully completed work on the tennis courts at Plymouth River School, and we are looking forward to working with them again. This project would be fully funded by the Rec Department's revolving fund. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, David. Anything to add?
So I would just say contractually, procurement-wise, it's a 3039M invitation to bid, classified as a public works project. The bids were available on August 6th, so we're going back a little ways, and through all areas of advertisement required underneath Mass General Law. Mark and I had attended a site visit that we were there, and we were able to kind of gather some information that was very insightful on the existing conditions of the court. The bids were due on August 25th. We received a total of 4 bids, with the second lowest being a bid of a difference of $20,000. East Coast Seal Coating was the lowest and most responsive bidder. East Coast Seal Coating has submitted all the required documents associated with this project. The contractor has already signed and agreed the town's terms and conditions. And the contractor will invoice the town upon successful completion of the project. And the total contract amount tonight is $76,850.
David, thank you.
Thank you.
So Mark, a couple of years ago, you, Vicky, and I, and Carrie Lee worked on the tennis courts at the high school, right? Was that 2 years
Correct.
ago, remember?
Correct, yeah.
And they came out great. So is this the same company that did those courts?
It is not. That was a full reconstruction. This is more of a repair job, cleaning out the cracks, putting in a binder, and then simply repainting the courts. It's just much more of a cost-effective way where we can hopefully get another 4, 5, 6 years out of the courts. That was a full reconstruction, $1 million project.
Yeah.
This is more of trying to extend the life before we get to that point.
Okay. Well, I mean, those came out great, and you did a good job kind of overseeing that project, as Vicky's involvement was fantastic as well. So based on that project, I have full confidence in your ability to do this one, and fully support what you're trying to do. And I would also note, those tennis courts get a significant amount of use. And I know right now a lot of people play pickleball on them, right? But every time I drive by, I see people down there, particularly in the summer months, using the court. So they're very, very high use. So this is a good project for the community to do.
Thank you.
All right, Liz, do you have any questions?
Thank you. That was a great comprehensive presentation. Thank you. Just a question about the term. I see it's October 31st, so are they ready to start immediately?
Yes, he's hoping to start this week.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Julie?
Quick question about, once the project is done and the repairs are made, you're going to repaint the tennis lines. Are you going to repaint the lines for pickleball as well?
Yes, our intention is to repaint the pickleball lines. We are currently also working on a pickleball project. That project won't be done for about another year. And
You guys are
so,
working on a pickleball project? Really? I didn't know that. Sorry, I didn't
Very diplomatic.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
So with pickleball lines currently on those courts for the past many years, we figure the right course of action is to repaint those lines, especially when those courts won't be built for about another year.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a pickleball being played there a lot, but I've also seen a lot of tennis over the years there. And I know that my own kids have played a lot of tennis on those courts. So thank you for your efforts to keep the courts viable as long as possible. So this is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any members of the public have any questions or comments about this agenda item? All right, with that, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign the agreement with East Coast Seal Coating Incorporated for the repair and resurfacing of the 6 tennis courts located at 0 Burr Road in an amount not to exceed $76,850.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm also an aye, and the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for your good work. Great. All right, next item on the agenda is to consider the request for approval for local action unit submission to EOHLC Unit 3H Beals Cove Road. I believe we have Jennifer Orem with us, or on the line, maybe? Yes. Hey, Jen, how are you? Good evening. Oh, well, we can't hear you yet. Stand by.
She's unmuted.
Jenny, you may be muted on your end. No, she's not.
Is she muted?
She's not.
Hold on.
You sound a little bit there.
Is this better?
That's better, Jen, great.
All right. Sometimes this computer changes speakers on me.
Actually, Jen, if you could just start off with your name and position, please.
Absolutely. My name is Jennifer Orem. I'm a senior planner zoning administrator for the town, and I'm here on behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust to follow up on a property the board should be aware of, to ask that the board allow the town administrator to sign on the final application for a local action unit for a condo that we have refurbished and are presently marketing for an affordable unit for the town. EOHLC, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, has approved the LAU application that was submitted in June, and we are marketing it, and it will be held for lottery mid-November. So we just need to send in a final version of that application.
And Jennifer, the intent is to help someone getting their first home, correct?
Correct, absolutely, yes.
Well, that's a great initiative, given the prices of home values here, so that's great. All right, let me see if anybody has any questions. Julie, any questions?
So this unit would add to our count for affordable housing in the town, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Liz, any questions?
Great. And Jen, I know you said the application deadline is mid-November and the open house is mid-October, October 21st?
Correct. Dawn and I will be there to greet people. Anyone who's interested who has worked with our lottery agent will come out, and we generally get a good amount of people to come to the open houses.
Excellent. This looks great. Thank you for all your hard work on this.
Oh, my pleasure.
Any members of the public have any questions or comments? All right, with that, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign a local action unit LAU application for a 1-bedroom unit condominium located at 3H Beals Cove Road.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. The motion carries unanimously. Jen, thanks for all your great work on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
All right, I'm gonna, since our next agenda item did not start until 6:30, so I'm gonna move to agenda item 10, which is appointments and reappointments, and I'm gonna put forth two potential appointments tonight. So I would make a motion to appoint James Kilhill to the 2025 School Building Committee.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. The motion carries unanimously. And I would make a second motion to appoint Thomas Donnelly to the 2025 School Building Committee.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. All right, I think I'm going to hold off on public comment in town administrator select board reports until the end of the meeting. And with that, we will stand in recess until 6:30. Thank you. All right, it is 6:30 on September 30th, 2025. Meeting of the Hingham Select Board is called back to order. A note from my colleagues here, I've already read the language regarding remote hybrid meetings. So with that, I'm going to turn to the advisory committee, and Carol, ask you to convene your.
I call the advisory committee meeting to order and adopt the language previously read by the select board chair.
Thank you. And Tom Carey.
Just stepped out.
Beth, can you do it?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't have that in front of me, so we can adopt the language that was just put forth.
Excellent. And you're calling the meeting to order.
Yes, and convening the
Well done.
Cal Building Committee. Well,
Excellent, great. All right, next item on the agenda is a joint meeting with the Advisory Committee and Hingham Center for Active Living Building Committee for the Hingham Center for Active Living Building Cost Discussion. I know this has been a meeting everyone's been waiting for. It finally arrived. As we said, we're going to discuss this cost associated with the building at the end of September, and it is officially the end of September. So we turn it over to our OPM, Dan Pilata. We also have Chris Wani. And Dan, why don't you take it from here?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to quickly go through the process that we go through as a design team and an OPM team to establish construction costs on a public project. I'm also going to get into what the costs are for this particular project. And I'm going to try to explain everything clear and succinct, and I'm sure that if something is confusing, you'll ask the question when we're done with the presentation. That being said, I wanted to talk a little bit about public construction in Massachusetts. This is a chart from MSBA. This shows where public construction in Massachusetts has been and where it's gone in the last 5 years. As you can see, it's a parabolic curve upward, in that when you go forward with a project like this, it is really the goal to keep to schedule and get your project out to bid as quickly as possible, because if you meet a targeted date and you're delayed 6 months or a year, it really impacts the total cost of the project. So with that in mind, we were given the charge to make sure that we have bids in hand for this project for your annual town meeting, and we are still on target to do so. This was the original conceptual site diagram that you guys had at town meeting, and you voted to appropriate $2.5 million for your feasibility and design of your senior center back in the annual town meeting of 2025. The building size was 28,700 square feet, and there were 204 parking spaces, and the site chosen was in the Bear Cove Park. After dozens of meetings, some joint with the advisory board and the selectmen, and listening to feedback, the project today stands at 25,950 square feet, a reduction of 9.6%, and the parking area at 170 parking spaces, a reduction of 16.7%. The location of the building changed for optimal sun in the event that the municipality chooses to solar the building at a future date, and the design of the parking lot was greened up based on public comments that it was a little too much asphalt. The budget that was presented to town meeting for the entire project was $34,100,000. This included some non-center related site work on the road to the center. It included some soft costs. It included our site work within our site, and it included the actual building construction. After all the work that we've done today, we have the total project cost at $30,609,757.80. That includes $956,000 of costs that would take water and sewer to our site and to repave the street. Appropriations past and present. The ATM in 2025 appropriated $2.5 million. The amount of funds committed and spent is $1,745,300. So at the end of this, when we get to town meeting, which is where the designer and the OPM contracts cease, we'll have spent $1,745,300 on engineering, architectural, geotech, survey, and the design of the building, leaving a balance of $754,700. The total project cost of the that we got to, and I'm going to get to how we got to the project cost, is $30,609,757. Taking the balance from the ATM 2025 appropriation, we would need $29,955,000, 57.80, if we were going to vote today. The advisory committee at our last joint meeting had asked, what is the total cost of the project, including the road work, including the study? It's $31,357.80 if the project was appropriated today. But we're not appropriating today. We're at schematic design today. And schematic design is where we've got a basic understanding of the programming, a basic understanding of the site, and a basic understanding of the major systems in the building. We, meeting after meeting, have indicated to you, and we continue to indicate, that things can be changed. This is not absolute. We have been listening. We will continue to do so. A change of the magnitude of, I don't like the building on a slight angle, I want to make it a round beehive, is at this point is beyond our capabilities. But changing things like reducing this or adding that is possible at this point in time. Our next milestone is design development. In design development, we're gonna get down to brass tacks on all the materials in the building, all the types of doors, all the types of plumbing, all the types of fixtures, all the heating systems, electrical systems, everything gets identified, and the number gets even more real from an estimating standpoint. And our final estimate will be at the 50% construction document stage, which is construction documents are the documents that go out to the public bid that you get an actual bid on. We'll do a third estimate at that point in time to make sure that we're on target or reducing our numbers. The estimates at schematic design design development, and construction documents are based on receiving 5 bids and the numbers in the middle. So the numbers we present to you are the number as if we had 5 bids and it's the third bidder. So bidders 1 and 2 could be a little bit lower, bidders 4 and 5 could be a little bit higher. How do we get to the number? After the design was designed, after the programming was done, after the pull and push of what this room's gonna do, what's that room gonna do, 2 independent estimates were done. 1 independent estimate was done by the OPM team, and 1 independent estimate was done by the designing team. The OPM team, Fennessy Consultant, $29,062,000, and the designers was $29,396,000. We then took the 2 estimates and we have to reconcile them. We physically meet, and we did meet last Wednesday for a lot of hours to go through each line of the estimate to make sure that both the estimators understood what they were to estimate, and that the quantities matched between the 2 estimators. Somebody might have thought there was tile on this wall and there wasn't. Somebody might have thought there was wood on this wall and there wasn't. We didn't finish on Wednesday. We went back at it. We had a meeting on Thursday in Hingham, so we stopped and we came back at it on Friday morning and we finished it. Our reconciled number came to $28,721,636 for the cost of the site work and the construction work. We have since met with the building committee and talked about ways to get the number down even further. We gave them a list of what we call value engineering or efficiencies that do not change programming. The building committee accepted the recommendations of the design team and the OPM team on most of them, which is a great building committee because they kicked back on some. And that resulted in a new budget that I'll get to in just a second. Changes since we started this process back in May as a team. We're going to do a quick overview because some people think that this hasn't changed or something, it's cast in stone. It couldn't be further from the truth. We have made a lot of changes on behalf of every committee we've met, not all of them, and residents that have said, hey, we think there's a better way to build the mousetrap. What about this idea? What about that idea? You want to just talk briefly about that?
Yeah, so we've presented this prior, and just to kind of recap some of the stuff that we've looked at and made changes to from the study originally that we presented at town meeting in April, space removals. So from the original program, spaces that have been just flat out removed altogether are things like maker spaces, a couple of different offices, some restrooms, some storage spaces, the administrative space, space reductions. A lot of the program spaces have been reduced: the auditorium, the classroom, the exercise studio, the volunteer space, conference room. Those spaces have been reduced from the program, upwards some of 10, 15, 20%. And we've looked at the responding directly to some public comments. Like, one of the comments that we heard a lot was, well, maybe the large multi-purpose room doesn't necessarily accommodate for the biggest event, doesn't accommodate enough people. So we put in a folding partition to be able to expand the large multi-purpose room into the cafe. So the point of this being that we, have been listening along the way. We have been trying to accommodate changes, large and small, throughout the process. And as Dan said, even after we got our reconciled estimates, we continue to try to find ways to gain efficiencies, maybe not necessarily affecting the program, but affecting the building materials and how the building's coming together to try to drive this cost down as much as we possibly can. So that's just a quick highlight of some of the stuff that we've been doing.
So the value engineer budget is $26,456,436, and that's what is in slide 5 or 6 showing the totals. We wanted you to know how we got there, all the steps that we got there, and to demonstrate to you that we are listening. From a FF&E project budget standpoint, I know you can't read this, and I'm not going to try and read it, but we have in our budget all the furniture, all the telephones, all the computers, all the security, all the little odds and ends that a building needs to be completely functional are in the total project budget. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we open it up to you.
Great, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Dan and Chris, for all the great work you've been putting into this. I know that you and I talked pretty regularly, and one of pretty regularly, say it mildly, but one of our targets was to get this under 30 million.
Right.
And that was a big point of emphasis that I placed on you and Chris, and I'm happy to see that with the numbers tonight. So thank you for your hard work to get where we are tonight. I have a couple brief questions, and I'll turn it over to other folks, because I know that we have a lot of interest in tonight's presentation. So I just want to emphasize, you said changes can still happen as we move forward.
Yes.
All right, so obviously we have many months until we take our vote on this, and when the advisory committee reviews if we do get to propose warrant. So changes can still happen as we move forward.
Yes.
And one question that come up a couple times from residents, and Mr. Cielos just mentioned it last time we met. Can you give us an estimate? If this building was 20,000 square feet, opposed to the 25.9, what would be the cost savings? Because I think we're all trying to quantify square foot reduction with cost savings. Are you able to kind of give us some numbers on what we would be saving if it was reduced more and we got to a smaller footprint?
So the simple answer to that question is there's no direct correlation to reduction of space and reduction of cost. There is a reduction of cost. If we reduce the space in the kitchen, that cost is going to be greater than reducing the space in the multipurpose room. So any reduction in programming space, because what you're really talking about is a reduction in programming space, would result in us having to redo the exercise we just did. And so there's no simple formula that I can give you that if you reduce it by 20%, I can get 20% out of the budget. It just doesn't work that way. We're still going to have the same site costs. We're still going to have the same water and sewer down the street costs. We're still going to have the same electrical service costs. So it just doesn't work that way. But it would be cheaper. It just wouldn't be cheaper in the direct correlation you're looking for.
Okay, great, thank you. So let me turn, what we'll do now, select board will ask questions, and we'll go to the building committee, and I'll turn it to advisory. So Liz, feel free to.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. This is really helpful and nice and direct and concise, and I appreciate it. But building on Bill's question, just based on your experience, can you give us some sense of because I understand what you're saying. There are certain costs that we've been referring to as fixed, right? That are gonna be X amount regardless of the size of the building. So I think it would be helpful for us to understand, just in that, I know we haven't gone through the estimating process, but in terms of orders of magnitude, that's X. And then if we could have just an estimate, a kitchen, I understand, we all know from home renovations, kitchens are very expensive per square foot, right? So if that is X versus a basic multi-purpose room like this is X.
I don't want to say, if you take a square foot off, it's going to be $500, $700, $900. It just doesn't work that way. There's 64 pages on these estimates. It affects more than just the footage of the building. So if you said, I think the real question is in reverse. Where is it you want to go? So, right now, we've got a program that we've demonstrated over and over again, meeting after meeting, of the needs for the seniors in Hingham. We have now correlated that program to a space. We have now priced that space, and we've looked at ways to cut back on the cost on that space. I expect our team to cut back a little more between schematic design and DD, and cut back a little more between DD and CD, and I expect the bids come in a little bit lower than the final CD estimate. That's what I expect. So the needs of Hingham have always been, hey, Dan, you know, we're a municipality, you know, we have to watch our budget too. You know, see what you can do about trying to reduce the cost. And we've done that. But to go beyond and start taking chunks of this building apart, you're affecting the ability to deliver senior services as identified in a year's worth of study.
Understood. Can you talk about the site work a little more? That's over $7 million. What exactly does that cover?
The site work includes clearing the land, hauling trees away. We have stormwater management. We have to put in proper soil underneath anywhere that we have a drive aisle. Gets a little bit thicker soil. We have to get to virgin soil underneath the actual building. If we go beyond the footing depth, we have to bring back structural fill. We're assuming that there's a little structural fill because of the old building that was there. We have some hardscape on the exterior of the building, patio out in the back. We have a walking path around the entire site, and we have safety paths in every island so that the seniors, when they're getting out of their car, don't have to walk through the parking lot to get to the senior center, especially when there's events and they're gonna have a long walk. We want them to have a safe travel way to go. And that's water and sewer to the center of the street.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Electric and fiber. Oops.
Electric and fiber.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand the difficulty here. And I know you can't commit to a number, but I think it's gonna be hard for us to make decisions about how to balance the programming with the cost if we don't know what we're talking about in terms of costs.
The program and the building is designed today needs $29,955,057 added to our account. That's the cost.
Julie, any questions?
Yes, thank you. So, Tom, on the slide where you have value engineering and efficiencies, changes since annual town meeting 2025, you have a list of those changes. Do all of those changes on that slide represent the 9% reduction that was announced in July this year?
A good portion of it.
Yeah, the majority of it, yes.
Okay, can you point out what would be on that slide that's different between, the change between July and now? That got added to that?
On
Any
this,
recent-
for this list or just anything in general?
Any recent value engineering?
So we looked at the original reconciled estimate, which is about $29 million. We're looking at a construction cost of about $26 million. There was a lot of value engineering that happened in there that did not require building reduction. So there's value engineering that can happen without actually taking space away. So between July and now, there's been no programmatic value engineering, if you will, like removing of space or changing of space. The one space change that we did make was the administrative wing was reduced, and there was another programmatic space included as part of that area. But in terms of overall square footage from that July meeting to now, nothing has been reduced.
Okay.
Space-wise.
Space-wise.
Yes, but there was a lot of other value engineering in terms of materials and construction types and, you know, site material selections and utility locations. Like, there's been a lot of work behind the scenes, but nothing in terms of the building square footage.
Okay, thank you. And the, any reduction in costs what would be, you just cited examples, would be changing materials, like you said, changing where the utilities would go in. Can you give any other examples?
So, I'll give you an example. We presented three heating and cooling systems for the building. The heating and cooling system we picked is $700,000 cheaper than if we went with the Cadillac Deluxe. It will work fine. It works fine in every building in Massachusetts. It's energy efficient. It meets all the bells and whistles. It's just a different type of a system. You have it in the public safety building. It's something that your maintenance teams are familiar with, and I expect that they'll be familiar with it here too. The building was originally, when it was sketched, it was unbalanced, it had an unbalanced site. And when I mean an unbalanced site, it was a site that we were hauling a lot of material off the site. And we don't need to do that. The site's big enough for us to be able to grade the site in a pleasant way so that we don't pull any material off the site. So now we have a balanced site. That's $250,000 just there. So there's items like that that we looked at as a team to get to where we are today.
Okay.
Couple others just to throw in there. We had talked early on with the committee about a walking trail that connected the recreation use of the site, of the ball fields to the Bear Cove Gate. And we talked about this trail being used for fitness. We had some equipment along the trail, and we removed those pieces. There was a greenhouse associated with the project. That is not currently reflected in the 26 million, so that was a value engineer reduction.
It's gone.
Okay.
That's not square footage that was ever really accounted for in the program, but that's actually a program space that has been removed. That is not reflected in the square footage, but it does reflect a good, solid number that we removed. So those are some other examples.
Okay, so the greenhouse has been removed. Is there any change to any of the landscaping that was presented?
Could you talk into a mic, please? We can't hear you.
I'm asking about the landscaping, and he said that the greenhouse has been removed, and I was wondering if you made any other value engineering changes to the landscaping plan between the beginning of September and now.
Yeah, from the beginning of September now, the pretty pictures that had all those flowering things, we'll have about 50% reduction in maintainable landscaping. So the final landscaping design will be sparser with more robust plants that don't need as much maintenance.
Okay, and would that result in a change in the pricing?
That is already reflected.
That's already reflected?
Reflected in the change.
Okay.
There's also things like a hardscape, like, we had a variety of patio areas that we've reduced since. So I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but pulling back a little bit from those components as well, similar to the landscape idea.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question, sorry. This is about the utilities going up Bear Cove Park Drive. So can you just itemize and give the total for the water, the sewer, the electric, and including for electricity, is it going to be on poles, the lights on the poles?
So-
Can I identify what those costs are?
Okay, it's a good question. If we go back to the estimate that we showed you, $956,500 is to bring water and sewer down the street to connect into all the buildings that currently are on the street, as well as our site. The $956,500 includes paving the street, okay? Beyond that, within the construction budget, we have a mitigation fee to the HMLP. You can tell I work in Taunton, it's TMLP. So the HMLP to bring power to the building. I'm assuming it's going to be on poles to the corner of our site. When it gets to our site, we are going underground to our electrical service.
Okay, and do you know how much that what
The,
that cost would be.
the cost that the MLP had indicated was between 25 and 50,000. 25 on the low end, and on our high end, 50,000. We carried 50,000 at this point in time. As we get the design refined, the MLP will actually give us a quote with engineering and so on and so forth.
Okay, and does that include streetlights?
I didn't ask for streetlights on the street. I know that our parking lot is going to be completely lit up. I would assume the streetlights are a municipality thing.
If we are required if streetlights are required, we would put them in on HMLP. They would become part of that cost. I don't know offhand if they're required down there, but we'll find out.
And who would make that determination, planning?
Tom Morahan is the,
HMLP would make that determination. Okay. All right. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
I just want to clarify one of my initial points too. So the ask at town meeting right now is under 30, correct? But the total
The ask at
cost.
town
30.
meeting is under 30.
All
It's 29.
Got it. Yeah, so that's going to be the ask, right, currently.
Yes.
Total prod, 331.7. All right. As you said earlier, you're going to continue to look at cost efficiencies as we continue to move forward. So continue to do that. I know you're making some ground
We're
here.
going to do it.
All right, all right. Let me turn to the,
Yeah.
good. I'll be, lower the number, the happier I am. All right. Let me turn to Tom Carey on the building committee.
The lower the number, the happier we are as well on the committee. I think that for the project, the process we've made is quite good. The 3 steps that you go through, this has been helpful. We've really worked hard to make sure that the building is not overbuilt, in the sense of we, at several places, had reductions that would mean that less people could be in a room at a particular time. But we did some downsizing in that respect. So the process since the original plan that was up at the last town meeting has been extensive, and it's much smaller. And we know now, basically, that we have a design for a building that meets our needs and is cut down from any excess. The building committee is keeping in mind, as I assume everyone else is, that this is a building that we would hope would last maybe 50 years. When this project was done and we had that nice 5,000 square feet for the senior center that everyone was envious of, which when we dedicated the building in 1998, I did not anticipate that in 2010 we would already be realizing that it's not big enough and we've got to do some more thinking about it. Marshfield is a lesson in this regard, because Marshfield built once and realized that it had wholly underbuilt and ended up having to do a 2-story addition within a relatively short period of time from the original one. So as we look at the building, for one thing, for example, the South Shore projections, economic projections out of UMass show that the demographic profile for Hingham in 2050 is going to be population significantly higher and elderly population significantly higher, 9,000 compared to whatever we're at, 6 or 7 now. So it's a building that's going to last for a long time. We're not overbuilding but we are trying to make sure that the planning and the projection is not only going to be right for the town the day we open it, but is going to continue to be right for a reasonable period of time. In terms of the next stage we're going to, the so-called value engineering, and Jerry's familiar with the concept, and we did it here. It can be a painful process, but we're prepared to do it and squeeze every unnecessary cost we can out of the thing. So we're pleased with this as a preliminary estimate. We still have our sleeves rolled up and are going to be trying to save all through the next stage of the process. And we realize that what counts is we're going to have additional estimates. We're going to have the estimate at the end of design development, and then we're going to have a construction costs estimate. And when you get to that construction costs estimate, we're getting close to where we were when we built this project, when we renovated the town hall. In that project, I had the pleasure of having to go back to town meeting a year later and ask for more money. They were kind enough to give it to us, but certainly nothing that any of us want. So the goal here is we're going to have a bid in hand, an actual proposal, contract ready to accept as soon as town meeting approves it, and so we will know what our price is, subject to making sure we build it without a lot of change orders. And so the committee is quite pleased at where we stand now, and is still working on getting a design to a point where we can actually see what the building will be and get a realistic cost estimate. So.
Great, thank you very much. All right, I'll turn to advisory.
Thank you. I have a few questions and a few comments. I guess one question, again, to understand the whole cost, my memory at town meeting a year ago was we were looking at somewhere in the 34, 35 million that included the 2.5 that was appropriated. So let's just say, if my memory's right, we were estimating 35 million, so we thought the building was going to cost 32.5 million to build. How does that compare to the, I look at this and I think we need to add back the 2.5 million to get apples to apples.
The 2.5 million is the first line.
I know,
It's
but.
in. So the work we're doing now is in that $2.5 million. When we're done doing that work, we're going to have a balance of $754,000. When I add the cost of building the building and doing the road work, even though the road work is water and sewer for not only the senior center but others, $30,609,000, we are $29,955 is our cost. So the total project cost becomes
So it's
$30,609,000.
the 30, okay, but it's the 31.7 then, I guess, is the number I'm focused on, includes
31.7.
includes all the work
So
that's
if
being
the-
done
If the
now.
advisory committee had said, Mr. Pilata, we gave you $2.5 million, you're asking for another $29,955, all right? The total cost is going to be
Okay.
$31,700.
Great. Just wanted
It's
to make,
less than the $34,100,000 that the designer had presented for his portion of the work at town meeting.
so the building's about 10% smaller and it's about a 10% savings.
Correct.
Great, thank you. I just want to make sure I was reading it correctly. I think the challenge with not, I'm going to, follow again on the theme that's come up, is the challenge of not understanding how much it's going to save by making any further adjustments is one, we're gonna get to the point where we can't make changes. And I know we'll have estimates as we go along, but it's just concerning that we don't have some better sense now of what adjustments might do. Because I think it's gonna flip the it might flip the conversation upside down to what someone suggested, which is, all right, maybe what we should look at it is, the town has an appetite for X million of dollars, what can you build for that? And I know we don't want to get there, but I just am afraid that that's where the conversation will go.
I'm afraid of those conversations too.
Yep.
I look at this as town meeting was told it was gonna be 34,100,000, but kind of the debate kind of said, get it down. So, we got it down, we reduced it 10%. And the ask at this town meeting is under 30 million. So the question becomes is under 30 million enough for the town at Hingham to give a complete senior center? That's the question before you. If that question is no today, then, what is yes? I don't know what yes is. I know that we know what the program is, we know what the site is, and we know that with each step going forward, we're gonna try and squeeze the lemon as much as possible, because we recognize that every dollar is precious to Hingham. But to say that this is gonna be a $20 million project is, you're not talking the same project.
No, I understand that, and I'm not suggesting even that dramatic a change, but I am,
But-
but I'm the one that stood up at town meeting last year and talked about value engineering, so it is close to my heart to see what we can continue to do with the amount. The second, I guess, comment is, and I'll leave it at that, is just back on the programming. I do appreciate all the work that was put into the last meeting and seeing what the programming was, but I don't think we still have a sense of how many people will come to those programs. So what we saw last time was the number and quality of the programs, but there were assumptions that, the room can handle 40 people. Are 40 people going to come? And I guess looking at other comparable, new senior centers, some other group that's a good representation of, and what their experience is with how many people come would be very helpful for helping us to understand if the size of the rooms make sense.
Can I comment on that? Even though I'm not the senior center director, this senior center has rooms of all different sizes. The question was, could it be programmed, and will it be programmed the day it opens? And the answer is, we showed you that there's a program for the day it opens on everything. Will they come for every program and fill every slot? Probably not for the first month or two, but they'll slowly fill in. And programs that aren't received well will be changed to other programs. There are over 50 programs in Marshfield. I think it's 62 or something like that, in Marshfield. And some come and some go. This is a structure we're building, and the structure is a building with flexible space. The multipurpose room is flexible, all the rooms are flexible. Even the lecture hall is flexible from the standpoint is it can be a lecture hall, it could be a movie hall, it can be a classroom. So it is a flexible space. But I don't think anyone in this room can say how many seniors are gonna come down. I took the architect today to Wilmington. I just built Wilmington. And Wilmington is about 20,000 square feet. And Wilmington was full. It's been 9 months. Their census is already over 200% increase. And we walked around with the director, and the director said, I would have made this bigger, I would have made that smaller, I wish I had a room this size, I wish I had that. So those things do occur. This center has such a multitude of spaces. I think you're gonna have a lot of great variables for your seniors.
And I appreciate that. I guess I think hearing statistically what Wilmington has for space for seniors and who's coming is informative. And if we could do that with other new centers, just get a sample to understand
So
what the
we did-
experience, because
yeah,
I'm not sure
yeah,
our
we did
seniors
it.
are that different.
If you don't mind, I just want to try to answer this. I hear your question. On Thursday's night's meeting, when we gave the presentation of the utilization plan, and Jen isn't here, otherwise she would say this. The utilization plan numbers were intended to be a representation of what Marshfield is doing right now. If that didn't come across, that's our fault for not making that clear. That utilization plan you saw Thursday is intended to be right now what Marshfield is realizing. So if that helps, it shows you exactly what they're doing. It wasn't a projection of what Jen thought we might be able to get out of our building. It was taking Marshfield's real life right now and putting it into our design and trying to see how that played out, so that we were not guessing what was gonna happen after we built. That was the intent.
No, I didn't get that, and so that's very helpful, and I just think it would be helpful to hear a few others.
We'll dig up what we can with and particularly focusing on, as you say, something within the last decade, and see how the change, how many came.
That'd be great.
I'm not aware that anyone in this whole field keeps a data point for the percentage that come, but I'll look.
I think Marshfield does, because when I went to Marshfield, Duxbury, and Situate, they gave some very good information. I think it's worth pulling it together.
Yeah,
seeing
sure.
what they say. I mean, we got it from the director. I don't know if it's a reportable event, but, I think they were willing to share what their experiences were.
We will dig that up.
Great.
Sure. Do you have another comment?
So we did put together a slide, and we'll dig it up for when we do DD to respond to you, but we did do a slide showing, I think it was 8 or 10 senior centers, increase in population once a new center was opened. I mean, I don't know that we can get the data on who was playing pool and who was in a class, but percentage-wise, there wasn't anyone under 200%. Most of them were in 300%, but we can get you that data.
Thanks. I'm looking at the slide where you have the 3 major milestones for cost estimates. I just have a question on the timeline. And maybe you've said this, so if you have, I apologize. But when in the timeline between now and, the 50% construction documents point, is the building footprint and design fixed enough in stone so that we have the only building that can actually be presented at the next town meeting? And in addition to that, could you just tell me what you mean by 50% construction documents?
Sure. That's a great question. At the conclusion of design development, the footprint of the building is pretty much set. Any changes beyond design development are going to be really, really minor in nature, because we have permitting boards we have to go to that get affected when there's changes to those numbers. The 50% construction documents, the construction documents are the actual bid set. They're about this thick, and there's a spec book about that thick. And they actually get developed over time. Believe it or not, the schematic runs into the design development, which runs into the construction documents. And as that document gets to 50%, we'll have a drawing that has probably 75% of the data we need on it, but there'll be a lot of missing tags, meaning that, door 103 might be mislabeled to door 108, those type of things. So we'll take an estimate so that we can get the actual quantification of the project, but we couldn't really build the building from it. If we put it out to bid, we'd get change ordered to death, and Tom Carey's already threatened me if we have change orders. So we want to make sure the drawings are perfect. But at 50%, you honestly have a really good idea where the estimate's going to come in, because the quantification is on the plans. I don't know if that helps or hurts.
No, that's very helpful, but do you have a sense, without holding you to an exact date, of when you will be at design and development? I mean, a calendar
We're
date?
in design development.
Okay, then.
We're in design.
When that will be done, so that.
We'll be finishing design development early December and receiving an estimate on design development for your Christmas present.
Thank you.
Can you give us more details about the heating system that is being at the moment proposed? Is that energy efficient? What more can you tell us about that?
It's going to be what's called a VRF system, which is a variable refrigerant flow system. It is extremely energy efficient in the swing seasons. It's a little, it likes to eat a little energy in the summer and a little energy in the winter, but it's a very comfortable system because it's one of the few systems that allows you to cool and heat at the exact same time, and using the rejected heat from cooling for heating and the rejected heat for, in the opposite. So when you have the winter and you're heating 3/4 of the building, but you've got a couple of sweaty classes going on in the exercise classroom, we can actually, reverse it and give them cooling without adding energy to the building. It is a gas-based system and condenses. No. Let me finish. It's electric energy, but it uses a gas, the replacement for Freon, to transmit the therms from cooling to heating.
So carbon emissions from the system?
There's no carbon, it's electric, all electric, 100% electric.
And-
If your electricity's coming from the hydroelectric dams out in the western part of the state, we're golden.
Hingham Light Plant's moving that direction. Not there yet, but moving.
And just for context, it is almost the exact system that went in the public safety facility, the VRF system.
And by code, does this building need to have an emergency backup, the way the public safety facility does? It has to stay operational for 72 hours with no power?
No.
This is not a level 4 facility.
Okay,
We do have a backup generator built into the budget right now, but it's not required.
right. Thank you.
Thank you. Wanted to address one issue, sort of a larger context. As the advisory committee, we could also be called the financial committee. And we're not just looking at your project, we're looking at the other projects, capital projects that are coming to town. And last year we updated our financial policy. And some of those goals are maintaining stable tax rates, preserving our AAA rating, enable people of variable economic means to be a part of the community. So it's not just this project that we're going to scrutinize. We're going to scrutinize all the projects that come down the pike. And so in that vein, what should our seniors have? And in my opinion, they should have something on par with our peer communities. Nothing more, nothing less. And at least what I see now, I think this is a more than. So why do I say that? I've talked about the, whatever we want to call it, the auditorium, the media room. And so one of my questions to Dan was going to be, this your 10th, 11th project?
I think it's my 10th senior center.
Okay, how many have a room like this with 60 anchored seats auditorium?
Marshfield has a media room. It doesn't have 60.
It's got 25.
So, but it has a media room.
Yep.
And it's undersized.
So, but of the other projects, no?
No, but, I can tell you that every one I've built is different, because every need in every community is different. What works in Ludlow does not work in Hingham.
No, I don't disagree with you.
So if I took you to Ludlow, you might see the same exact space, but you're gonna see a completely different programming for the seniors of that community. So each community is a little bit different, like Tom had indicated, when he opened downstairs in 1999, it was the bee's knees, in 1999. So it changes, and the needs of the seniors have changed with study after study after study. So, I mean, this is the.
I guess sort of what I'm going to get at here is, if other communities are providing robust programming without it, how do they do it? My point, getting back to my point of the more than, I think, and you guys push back if you think I'm wrong, you want a bigger facility to provide more programming than our peer communities.
No.
That's what I see.
Then you're blind. I mean, seriously. We have been working on this for ages. If you've gone through the various reports that have been done, and if you've gone through the information we've given, it should be crystal clear that this is not some Taj Mahal because we want to be better than everyone else in Massachusetts. We aren't. The stuff that we have is in comparable communities. If your comparable community is limited to 2 or 3 towns nearby, and you're talking about Situate with much lower population, and why can't we do it at that? It's a fixed deck. If you look more broadly at comparable communities, let's look at communities that have our size population. Let's look at communities that are sufficiently similar in the ratio of population and the like to see what they have. Let's look not at what some town might have that it built 25 years ago, or Wellesley, for example, which has nowhere near enough space, and built what it did solely because it was the only land they had, and it was a gift for a particular purpose. But I hope before we're done, and it's time for you to vote, that I will have fed you with enough information, and I'll keep it coming, to make you appreciate that this is the sort of senior center that innumerable other communities have. And it's not something over and special. Now, the chairs, you'll appreciate this, I think. My initial reaction when I saw the first draft of that was, my God, what are you talking about? Fixed seats? Why do we want fixed seats? So as we went through the design process, and Chris educated me to what's going on, we ultimately realized that the room as it's now designed with those chairs is taking up less space in the building than it would be if you did it without them. And as I've been reading more and more in seniors' needs and what people are putting into these kinds of things, the quality of the seating, the fact that it is spread wide apart, that you don't have to get in and out if someone else is coming in or out, which you have to do in a lot of that type of facility, were all pluses. So I can understand, because it was my own initial reaction, why the idea of, wait a minute, this looks like it's better than going to the movies. It actually turns out to be a very efficient thing. So.
Beth, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to, in terms of the seating, I just want to say I've worked in the field of gerontology for almost 10 years, and I studied gerontology. So some of these design features, maybe they appear that they're overdone or they're too large, but we want to think about accessibility too, and as we age, and just making sure the features of the building, which could be wider hallways or seating that is more comfortable for people who are aging and potentially have a disability. In terms of thinking about the peer communities, we have a slide, which I don't think we can quickly pull it up tonight. but I have been going through these peer communities for a couple of years. The AdCom committee, the AdComs provided us with the benchmark towns early in January of 2024, I believe. Went through the whole list with all the data from our US Census, and then I updated it just last week, swapping out a few towns. What we found in terms of the ratio that we like to talk about for the benchmark towns is square feet per resident 60 plus. When I updated that over the weekend, I realized that with the new towns that were subbed in, Weston being one of them, I actually spoke with the director of Weston today, and she confirmed that they are advocating for more space. So with that bumping us up, because they have a community center there with recreation space, that list averaged at 2.93 square feet, and we have lowered ours to 3.28 square feet. So that's very closely aligned now to the benchmark in terms of square feet. And then in terms of the South Shore towns, we've done this bar graph over the last year and a half, and it includes Marshfield, Pembroke, Duxbury, Situate. And we, with our new 3.28, are now less than Marshfield. Cohasset's on there too. And so those South Shore towns, with taking out Pembroke because they're an intergenerational center, so they're more up at like the 5.5, we're all hovering right around 3.3. Now, in terms of the data that you're looking for, in terms of utilization, that's where it gets more into qualitative data, and it takes a lot of time to go reach out and talk to Council on Aging members or maybe different directors. And I have taken a lot of time to do that. And that's where you learn the nuances that exist in these comparisons. And for example, Andover is on that list. That's what I like to call restrictive repurpose. And it's what would have happened here if we tried to build it here, because we didn't have the parking and we weren't going to get the design that we've been waiting for 15 years. So when you go through that list, you have to think about how you can compare it. And some of them are definitely in outdated buildings with the same struggle as us. So we really need to, and we will do this, I've spoken with Brenda and Carol, and we want to, let's select 5 towns and take a deep dive and show you how it relates to Hingham. And I think you will be reassured that this is a reasonable project. I've been working on it, honestly, for 15 years. And with Dick Pont as head of the Facilities Commission, we met back in 2012. Now we meet for coffee occasionally. And we were looking at numbers based on what are currently still the same suggestions by the Executive Office of Aging Independence, 4 to 7 square feet per 60 plus. We talked about that back in 2012. We knew the projections were there, and those projections are the reality. So we really should be building something that's closer to 40,000 square feet, but we're not. And we didn't start this like some towns do, saying, let's go for 40,000 square feet. We started with 28,000 square feet, and I kept pushing, let's do as best we can to stay close to that. And I think we reduced, but we don't want to reduce anymore. And I work in gerontology, so I am not as financially, budget survey and all this. But for me, working in that field, and I respect all these conversations about operating costs, the cost of the building, tax impact, everything. But my question in my head is, what is the cost going to be to the community if we don't build a sufficient and suitable space? And it's going to impact quality of life and health. And that relates to some of the reports that Tom referenced over the last couple of weeks, the needs assessments, the healthy aging, which show that Hingham's rate of Alzheimer's is higher than the state average. And Hingham's rate of chronic disease, 4 or more conditions, is higher than the state average. So there have been these initiatives that are evolving across the country that are focused on preventative health care programs, social prescribing to address isolation and the the detrimental impact of people being isolated. The Age and Dementia Friendly Initiative that's driven by the World Health Organization, and that's in my field, I'm working with communities across the state. 200 of the 350 towns with a senior center have either become designated by the World Health Organization or they have that in process. And Hingham is hoping to do that next. So if we're going to be moving with those initiatives, this is the place. This is the vital foundational resource from which all that's going to happen. Self-managed, evidence-based chronic disease management, social connections, and we can continue to talk about this at future meetings, but I just want everybody to know this is the best known implementation site for all of those wellness promoting programs and services to exist. Thank you.
Very nice.
Hold on. No, advisory committee first, yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah, Ben has a question, go ahead.
So I'm senior adjacent, so it's a nice facility. And I appreciate all the hard work that everyone has done here. I'm a little concerned about some unintended costs. So out at Fort Hill, we're adding quite a bit of traffic. We have the transportation, the school buses next to that, Thomas Auto Body across there. You also have parking for the MBTA. You talked about repaving, but I would assume you don't have in your budget anything that might be done out at Fort Hill, should it be necessary after a traffic study?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've talked about that, Tom. Do you want to take that one? Thank you. Thanks for the question. Excellent question, Ben.
Yeah, so the traffic impacts of this project are additive to what is already a difficult situation at that intersection. I think we all know that. Carlson Field is stressing that intersection beyond its current design already. Then we add the pickleball courts to that. Now if the HCAL gets built down there, the fact is we need a new intersection design. That's happening outside of this project because it has to happen anyway. Yes, it will include cooperation and working with the MBTA as it relates to the train crossing. We'll be working with the school department on their school busing needs and the fuel depot needs, all that kind of stuff. All of that will be done through our engineering team. And what I've told them is that if we get an approval at this spring's town meeting, then that gives them about a year and a half, which is what I've been told the time to build the project would be. So by December of '27, before we open the door at the senior center, HCAL, I'd want the intersection work to be completed. So I'm told that can happen. I don't have a quote for you because the engineering design hasn't been done for the intersection, but that'll be done as part of the DPW's and engineering department's work on that intersection anyway. But I can tell you for sure, it will be completed before a door is opened at the HCAL should it be approved.
Yeah, we've already had the conversation with the town engineer, DPW, other stakeholders, and how that might be realigned, so thank you. All right. I think Brian.
I know, sorry.
Okay, go ahead, yeah, sure.
This is somewhat related, and if you don't know the answer, it's fine, but as far as like the sewer and the water and the power that are going to be going down to the HCAL, is it possible via that design to bring it further into Bear Cove Park? Because I know there were other people that were interested in potentially, doing more work in the park itself in the future. Are there any design issues along those lines that you'd be aware of? And if you don't know the answer to that, that's fine.
I was just going to say, I'm going to defer that one to the big guy in the middle of the table.
So good question, Ted. I think that for this project's purposes, we would only bring it to the project. To the extent, it will be built, as all of these types of extensions are, as something that can be extended further if the town ever decides that that's something that becomes a priority. I think there's a bunch of issues that would go in with potentially doing that. So it would be a broader question later, but it's extendable. How's that?
Yeah, okay. I was just thinking future-proofing,
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
staying with committee questions first, we're going to go to Brian Stack, who's an advisory committee member. He's online, so let's let him go.
Okay, thank you, Bill, and thanks to everybody for all the hard work they put in here. I do have questions about the building cost relative to peer towns, and we don't have a lot of data. It would be useful if we could get more. It might actually shed some light in a favorable way if we had it. But I did look at the UMass study, which is on the HCAL website. The UMass study included a slide that showed recent additions and expansions that were done by not necessarily benchmark, but peer communities. And notably, Marshfield in 2022, Situate in 2021, Wellesley in 2017. And I took the cost of the project, which was on that page, and I took the senior population in each town on that page, and I got a building cost for each center per square foot. And then I said, well, you know, these are different years and there's been inflation, so I put everything into $2025, I'm sorry. And what this little slice of the universe shows that our building costs for this proposed center is of giving effect to the numbers that we looked at tonight are anywhere from 37 to 70% higher. 37% higher than Wellesley on an inflation-adjusted basis, 53% higher than Situate on an inflation-adjusted basis, and 70% higher than the Marshfield expansion when put into $2025. So I guess my question is, I'll let you speak to this, but can you help us understand that? I think one clear potential explanation is that the proposed center in Hingham is very amenity rich. And I think secondarily, and I don't know to what extent this plays into this, but we did get square footage for peer communities in the 18-town benchmark over the weekend. And I think if you take the average of those 18 fairly well-heeled towns, I think it came to 2.6 square feet per senior. And I think Beth just said that the updated figures based on tonight's discussion is that the Hingham Center will be about 3.2. So it's a bit bigger than the benchmark communities, all of which are well-heeled. I'm not sure that I believe in stripping out certain centers that don't show well, because we have our hands full trying to make the best decisions we can for Hingham. And it doesn't make sense to me that we should be saying that someone else's senior center is inadequate. Those are the senior centers that these fairly wealthy towns are living with at the current moment in time. So could you speak to these issues and help us understand a bit better?
Sure. Yeah, Brian, excellent question. I think, Dan, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, do you mind? Brian, thank you for the question. I built Marshfield. I built the addition. I would love to build your building in 2022. It would be a lot cheaper. And it would, and it's not a direct correlation to, it's not a direct correlation to the inflation rate. It's a direct correlation to the Massachusetts public construction. And if you look at public construction in Massachusetts, it was a straight line. I don't know if you can see this on your phone. You can get it on MSBA. It has creeped up at a greater percentage than the overall CPI and the inflation rate that the federal government publishes. So there is no direct correlation to inflation that way. So I would have loved, honestly, I would have loved to build your building in 22 because it would be a lot cheaper.
Well, let me jump in and just ask the question. I understand I use the CPI, and that's not specific to individual components of the index. But 37 to 70% seems like a pretty steep ramp. And maybe once I dig into that chart that's in front of me, I'll see if bears it out, but it does seem pretty steep.
I've been struggling with it for 3 years, Brian.
I would add just briefly on one thing. I'm not sure the number they have in there for Marshfield is for the entire construction of Marshfield. It was done in 2 stages. And
No, Tom, that is for the expansion.
okay. So the total.
The expansion did not have an expansion of parking. We took up parking to put the building where the parking was. So this is where the comparison thing doesn't really work town to town, program to program. It really doesn't work. I can't answer your question on whether you think we have too many amenities. We're showing you that we have the programming necessary for the seniors. I don't know where else to go except for to continue to squeeze that onion and squeeze that lemon with each stage that we go.
Okay, thank you.
Brenda, did your hand come up before Brian spoke?
I had a chance to ask Tom this question on the way in here this evening, but for the rest of the building committee, how would you describe what you would consider a successful new HCAL in terms of how many of our 60-plus residents are you hoping will be coming? What would you consider successful? Because one of the things we're trying to look at is square feet to number of actual participants, and how successful is each town's program at providing services to their residents. What would you consider what you're aiming for here in Hingham?
Well, I'm aiming for everybody. The more, the merrier. And I'm aiming to build something that is going to serve not only the people in the community today, but the people that are in the community for the foreseeable future. And so I don't have in my head how many people do I expect to walk through the door on opening day. I do know that when you look at other communities that have good and popular senior centers, the use is widespread and significant. I had lunch with my sisters on Saturday, cousins, kind of a conference, and one of them lives in Marshfield, and she was complaining bitterly at how many people come to Marshfield from other communities. She says, something I says, and a lot of those Hingham people, you should finish that so I can get back to my stuff. The other aspect of how many do you want to see in, and this relates to what Beth was talking about. I know my wife is very interested in taking a balance and fitness class because she had a recent back injury. So you've got so many, the health and wellness, the learning, nutrition, and the other parts of it, which are not designated programming rooms, but the people who come in because they've started all those crazy commercials in early December on what you should do with your Medicare options, that kind of advice you can get from the senior center. In more serious fields, abuse, elderly abuse is up and becoming more significant. I was going around giving talks as part of a program of the Mass Bar Association on elder law to educate people about their rights. Frequently, if there is a problem, it's going to be your senior center that will take it first. If one looks at the state programs as to how they want to imagine aging in in Massachusetts over the next 20 or 30 years, either age-friendly or dementia-friendly, and you go through it. And so many of the aspects of the community that are available, the resources, people get to the resources through the senior center. So it's not simply a matter of how many people signed up for the program. It can be a matter of we got alerted and the police were notified and the financial fraud thing was intervened in. So there's different qualitative. So how many are going to come? A heck of a lot more than are coming here. I can't remember the specific detail, but I think there were over 200, and don't hold me to it. One of the questions on that 2022 survey was, if you had this, would you come? Or would this make you come? And there were a couple of hundred or more people on that survey who were non-users, who said, sure, I'd come if that were available. So I can't forecast what we're going to do in the first year. I don't think the building's going to sit there empty. If you look at the history of all of the new ones that were built, they filled up pretty fast. And it's a building that's going to serve the community during those years when the aging population in need of service is growing bigger and bigger and bigger.
Sure, yeah.
Thanks. You just kind of jogged my memory on something. Have you given consideration to people from other communities who will all see our new facility and our new programming and what you might expect? Obviously, Marshfield's letting it happen,
well,
maybe to the detriment of some of their hometown folks.
Sure.
What are the estimates?
We have, but it's not a matter of choice. Under state law, your senior center has to be available to any eligible senior who's a citizen of Massachusetts. So you got to open the door.
No,
but,
okay. I don't have an issue.
No, I know.
What's the number?
The question of how many do you get, I haven't reached the stage yet where I'm a heavy user of stuff in the senior center. But when as you go around and you talk to people, we've had people in our own senior center confessing that they go to Situate because they like it better. You go to other communities and they're talking about how many people come. But also, there's sort of a ride the survey, It's like I paid to get into the Big E, and this is a nice ride, but I'm going to go over there because they have a better ride, or I like the popcorn in this stand. There are people who go around to various senior centers. Some follow particular speakers. It's hard to pinpoint. We do mandate that residents of Hingham come first. If you sign up for a program, senior residents in Hingham are first in line. And so people who come from outside are not going to take over the various programs. Is that the part you were thinking of, or just you were wondering how many extra people are coming in?
Well, kind of how many extra people, and it seemed like, I think the example you used was, your spouse was like, I don't want to go to Marshfield, let's get our place done, but
yeah,
she's going to Marshfield and some.
No, she isn't, but others do. Yeah, some of them go everywhere. Weymouth is expanding its senior center. They're increasing the size. So the impression I get, and too bad Jen isn't here because she could give you the gossip on it, is that people go around all over the place. But we have, we know from all our data and looking at it that we have a significant thousands of citizens in the town of Hingham who need these kinds of services. And once we're able to provide it to them without, where they can park and so on, I'm confident they're going to be coming.
Dan, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to add, and Tom hit it towards the end of his presentation, that in a previous presentation, Jen had indicated that when they have programs, and they are fee-based programs, that the Hingham residents, the window opens up for Hingham residents. When the Hingham residents' window closes, then they open it up to adjacent communities. So the Hingham residents are always going to be first served by this building. But, you can't close the doors. I mean, that's it, right?
Liz, did you have, I'm sorry, Beth.
Oh, I was just going to say, last week was out west of Boston and just at a few different centers. And I think that when you're in a region, which is happening here, where the centers are renovating and expanding, you do hear a lot of conversations that people do like to travel, and it's like anything, you want to go to different restaurants from time to time, so people move around, so it isn't anything unique to this area. So, and I think part of the answer is that we don't have all the answers, but that's why we visit these centers, we talk to the directors, we do the best we can to put this data forth, learn about the trends, and I think I was at Marshfield for a project on Friday last week, and it was just buzzing with energy, packed, full capacity in the multi-purpose room, which sometimes, because their media room is too small, they have to use that space for musical events, and that's what we were doing on Friday. And so just remembering that, that this is what we're putting in this center is a lot of it is based on feedback from Marshfield, and I think we were all really happy earlier in the process, and thank you all who did travel to Marshfield just to understand the message and the vision that we were trying to describe. And I think we really feel like we can learn so much from Marshfield because it's very apples to apples. Some centers maybe have more square footage, but they might have a gymnasium or something that's really different, where Marshfield, it's all programming space, and the lounge and the cafe are the informal gathering spaces, and it's very similar to the design that we've created based on the success and feedback from Carol that she wishes she had more space. Thank you.
And Liz, do you have one more?
Thank you. Just a comment, really. I appreciate that we have pushed the committee to have a very holistic view of the project cost. So I just want to, I think it's worth reminding everyone that that is what we're looking at here. The site work, the non-center related site work. So thank you. Thank you for that transparency. We wanted to have an understanding of the total project cost. I really like Beth's suggestion of picking 5 benchmark towns and doing a deep dive. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I just want to be sure that we are comparing apples to apples, and I'll look to your expertise, Dan, on this. Are we talking about the building cost of 19 million, or are we talking about project total cost of 30 million when we're looking at the other 5 towns? I just want us to be really very aware of that.
That, it depends on how each town breaks it down. They should have that broken down. The appropriation number in their warrant will be the total project cost if it was done in one phase.
Okay, thank you.
I would just add on that, Liz. I understand the holistic, I have no problem with it. Everything that may be in the budget, the voters should know about. But there is a difference between having a capital improvement project that needs a 2/3 vote, or having an override election that needs a vote. And usually those are not inclusive of things like oh, well, they're going to have to fix the intersection out by the road. And those, we need to know, make sure everyone understands that the expense is there. But I would assume that those are expenses that we would be dealing with through our customary and usual appropriation functions. I don't want to see anything sort of tucked into the necessary formalities of the vote and the override that don't belong there. And I want to complicate the legal situation.
Absolutely agree with you.
And I think, when you say override, you mean debt exclusion.
Yeah, I want to clarify, this project does not need an override, it needs an exclusion of debt.
Yes.
Big difference,
Yes.
okay? Sorry, Tom.
No, that's,
All right, I know some people are waiting to speak, so we'll take some public comment. Before we take public comment, the topic for tonight's meeting is costs. So I'm going to ask that you focus your questions and comments on cost tonight, if you can. So Glenn Mangurian, your hand is up and you're right by the auditorium. When you come up to the auditorium, please state your name and address, if you don't mind.
Bill, thanks for recognizing me before I fall asleep.
Name and please.
It's moving past my bedtime. Glenn Mangurian, 4 Huckleberry Hill, 41-year Hingham resident. And my comments are going to, I think, add a different perspective than has been talked about so far in any of the meetings I've gone to. You know that at one of the earlier meetings I mentioned delineating fixed cost and variable costs. The fixed cost for this is $8.1 million. 8.1 million, it's a lot. And so I think that if I remember correctly from my Economics 101, this is an inelastic, that's the term, the technical term that's used, but basically it's nonlinear. You don't get a full reduction in cost when you reduce it by a certain percentage. So that's one thing to consider. I have 4 things I want to introduce. First, in all the meetings I've gone to, all agree we need a new senior center. But the project is at risk for garnering the town meeting vote and the ballot vote. And I've been following all the discussions on Zoom, in the Anchor, in person, and one person who wrote in the Anchor that if it doesn't receive the 2/3 vote, it's going to send, quote, send a discouraging message to the community, especially seniors, and leave us stuck with the status quo of a 5,000 square foot facility that everybody agrees is inadequate. Now, my view is that a rejection will delay this project a generation. Not 5 years, a generation. So in my consulting work, we always talked about what are the consequences of inaction. And that's my view. People might have different views, but that's my view. Some have raised the question about size and cost. Numbers like 28,000 square feet, 26,000 square feet, almost $30 million, generate a visceral reaction of too large, too expensive. Too large, too expensive. I've asked people that have talked here, I've had the opportunity to talk to some of them that have raised the cost concern, and I've asked what costs could they support? And none have been able to answer that question. By the way, I can't answer that question. So maybe that's the wrong question. It's an interesting quandary. People will say it's too expensive, but they don't know what cost they'll support. So they must have some benchmark that they're saying that it's too expensive, but they can't articulate what that is. So I, like most residents, and definitely the people at town meeting, can't relate to size or cost. The third point, I want to know what the impact of the project will have on my property taxes and the average taxpayer. That's what people can identify with. So we have some recent borrowing history that can help us understand the scale of property tax impact. Now, it's fair to assume that we're going to have a 30-year bond with decreasing principal. So those of you that are less familiar with decreasing principal, as I was, it's not like a mortgage. A mortgage, you pay the same every year. With decreasing principal, you pay less each year, which is the reason why you've often heard the term 8-year average. So over the 8 years, the first year is the highest and the 8th year is the lowest, so you take an 8-year average. And the actual interest rate's going to be set at the time of financing. So Tom Mayo's staff told me that past borrowing has generated assumption. For every $1 million borrowed, the 8-year average impact for the median property tax holder. So median, remember statistics, median is half or below and half or above. That translates into $7.10 for every $1 million borrowed. So if you save $1 million, you save $7.10 on the median tax bill. If you add $1 million, you add $7.10 on the median tax bill. Now, by the way, that translates, I multiplied these numbers out, $210 on the median tax bill. That's what we're talking about if the $7.10 number holds. Now, that number, I think, is going to change. By the way, that's based on the latest. If you say you might bring that number down, the total cost down, and by the way, these numbers were taken from previous projects. We know the Fed has lowered the rate twice, and they say they're going to lower it 2 more times before the town meeting. Who knows what the borrowing rate is going to be, but it's likely to be less, which would cause the $7.10 to go down. Now remember, half the homeowners will pay less than $210, and half will pay more. Half will pay less, and half will pay more. And you might think about, well, who's going to pay less? It might be people on fixed incomes whose property values are lower than the median. Tom Mayo said he's going to put up, as he has in the past, a calculator where you can put in your street address and you can see what your property tax impact would be. And that's going to be in the next couple of weeks. Point 4, each of us has to decide how we relate to $210. Some will say, is that all? $30 million, oh my God, $210, is that all? A few might say that increase is the tipping point on my affordability. They might. Some might say that. If you know someone who can't afford that increase, refer them to the Board of Board of Assessors, who can review the 9 tax relief programs that the town has. And by the way, I think almost all of them would cover the $210. And Jennifer tells me that there are federal and state programs that won't necessarily reduce your property tax, but will help you in other areas such as home heating oil, et cetera. So people shouldn't be forced out of town. I certainly don't know anybody that has been forced out of town. But we know that people choose to leave town for a variety of reasons, to be close to their grandchildren, to buy a place in Florida and cash in. There's a variety of reasons. So as I said, it's likely that that $7.10 per $1 million will probably go down, which means the $2.10, $210 will go down. So for me, all in all, the $210 or lower property tax increase for the median assessed property seems quite reasonable for a 50-year 21st century facility. What do you think?
Glenn, thank you. Dick had his hand up first, so I know you had a hand up for a while. I couldn't call on you because it was another question, but I'll go to Dick. Dick, if you could state a name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Do you want to?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm getting old, old and tired. Let me see.
You can hold it. You can hold it.
All right, I'll hold it. My name is Dick Pont. I'm a resident of Hingham, have been for almost 50 years. Up until recently, 3 Hollyhock Lane, and now I call Linden Ponds home. And I like it. It's very nice. But I'm not going to leave the senior center because all my friends are here. And I'm making new friends at Linden Ponds, but that's okay. I wanted to speak not because I want to speak, because my wife really doesn't want me to speak. She gets very upset at the fact that I'm coming to the meeting because she knows I'm going to talk. I have a couple of answers to questions, and although they don't have a lot to do with the cost, they might clear some things up. How many people do we expect to be able to attract over and above what we have now at the senior center, using the senior center? I travel 30 miles every Wednesday to Marshfield to play duplicate bridge. We do not offer duplicate bridge because we do not have the space to offer duplicate bridge. Marshfield has duplicate bridge, and we have about 20 to 25 Hingham residents that travel every Wednesday the 30 miles to Marshfield to play duplicate bridge. If we had a facility here that could accommodate duplicate bridge, we would have those people plus many more attending a bridge game. In Marshfield, they attract 48 to 52 people. That's 12 or 13 tables of 4 playing duplicate bridge on Wednesdays. It's so popular that they now offer it also on Fridays, and they get about 6 tables or 24 people on Fridays. By comparison, here in Hingham, we have 3 drop-in bridge games offered, and we attract either 2 or 3 tables at each one of those bridge games. A lot of people don't come because there's nowhere to park. I know there was a lady that spoke last week at our meeting that was held here. she gave an exercise class, and she quoted that she knew 25 people that would like to go to exercise classes but cannot because either they're filled up or there's no place for them to park. I teach Mahjong, which is a very popular game today, not only with us elderlies, but also with the younger generation. It's very popular. In fact, they even got me teaching it now at Linden Ponds. I got a little group of 4. I have a class of 15 people on Tuesday mornings. I come in here at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 or 8, and prepare for a class of 15 people. We jam them into a 12 by 12 or 14 by 14 room. And I have 3 people that help me, one at each one of 4 tables, to teach Mahjong. I could take a lot more. I got a lot more requests. Everybody wants to know, when this Mahjong class ends, are you going to teach another Mahjong class? Because I want to learn how to play Mahjong. Well, to be honest with you, I also have people asking me to teach to play bridge, and I haven't taught bridge for about 3 years, so I'm going back into my bridge teaching mode, and in November and December I'm going to offer bridge classes. So I know that there's so many more people in town that want to use the senior center, that would like to be able to come to functions. When we have a grandparents' day or a Valentine's or a Christmas celebration, we have to limit it to 60 people, and we always book up, and we charge for people. All of our programs are not funded by any taxpayer money. All of our programs are funded by grants, by donations, and by volunteers. So the question was asked about an auditorium. It's not really an auditorium. We have a discovery program that's really fantastic, and it books up every time we publish the new discovery programs for the next few months. We have a wait list of people wanting to get in. We have volunteers that give these discovery programs that are very interesting, educational, and we have people that want to come, and we overbook for every one of these. The reason that we need some kind of a, you want to call it auditorium, or a room to present programs, is because we operate with a budget of a little over $400,000 a year. That represents 0.03% of the total town budget. That's what we give to our senior citizens. That's how we help our senior citizens. It's so minute that I'm embarrassed. Other towns don't need to have the staff moving chairs, moving tables. When I go in the morning to set up my rooms for Mahjong, I have to rearrange all the furniture because I don't have anybody there to do it for me, and the staff has enough other things to do. So I'm saying to you, take a look at what we're offering. Take a look at what we should be offering, and don't try to compare one senior center with the other. Pembroke just built a 28,000 square foot facility, 11,000 of which is devoted to the recreation department. However, the seniors can use a walk-around exercise area They can also use the exercise equipment. Now, that's not part of the 17,000 square feet that's left to take care of the seniors, and there are 18,000 people in Pembroke. We have 26,000 people. We get 7,000 seniors. We got a 5,000 square foot facility. I was on the board 13 years ago when we looked at what the needs were for a new senior center, and 13 years ago, it came out to be 20,000 square feet. And now we're arguing and trying to nickel and dime a 25 or 26,000 square foot facility. Just doesn't make any sense. You want to look at Situate? Well, Situate's got 75 parking spaces. So now they have to have a valet service because people can't get in to park. There's no parking areas. They have to have people that will take their cars off-site. You know, do we want that to happen to us? We went from 200 to 180, and we're now questioning, is that really, do we really need 180 parking spaces? You bet your life we do. We're going to fill those 180 parking spaces. We're going to fill all of those program rooms. When you build it, I've been to all kinds.
You get about 1 minute.
Okay, I've been to Canton, I've been to Duxbury, I've been to, I go to Marshfield, I've been to Situate, I've talked to the Situate people. They're undersized. They're looking, how can we add on to this facility? It's too small. It's 4 years old. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go Josh Ross and Anita, and then right there. And then we'll go online after these three. Josh, if you name and address, please.
No, I want to hold the microphone because I keep putting my head down. Joshua Ross, 125 Wampatuck Road. So I'll ask the question now that we have a number. Is anyone willing to give them a number that you're comfortable with now that you know the number? Size-wise, dollar-wise? Are we at a place yet? Still no. Okay. Second, we ask for comparable information, which I think we should, but we keep ignoring the experts that we have here. Beth is probably the foremost expert in, I'm going to screw up what your elder service is, Jerry. And she knows the information back and forth, and yet every week we keep asking her for more information. The citizens who use the current center are telling you week after week what they need, and yet you still don't believe that's what they need. I don't know what I'm missing. You've made the trips to other centers. They're telling you what they need. The data tells you what they need. I understand that you do need to do some comparisons because it would be irresponsible for you not to. But I just ask that you just listen to what the people in the room are telling you week after week when we go over this stuff. Sorry, that's quickly what I had to say first. I swear I didn't coordinate with Glenn, but I just want to talk a little bit about the finances, and sometimes we don't talk about the full financial picture. We talk a lot about taxes and what it costs and, you know, the operations, but what we don't often do, and it really never do, is talk about the benefit of the taxes as an investment in your property, right? Are we all in agreement that your biggest investment is your property? So as in my former life, I'm not just a guy taking pictures around town. I was in the financial industry. I was a financial planner. Not anymore. My license is expired, so don't take any financial information from me. But looking back at 23 years, because this is all the data I had, our annual property tax increased $371 a year. That's just average. It's not means. It's just, I took 23 years and averaged it out. Over that time, our annual home value increased $36,000 a year. So for $371 in taxes, we've increased $36,000 in overall wealth, you would say personal wealth, on paper. The last 7 years where we've had, and this has just been approved, the water company, Foster, public safety, pool, I included that because it should be done, and the override. So that's the last 7 years. Our annual average tax bill has increased $549. Our average household value has increased $63,000 a year. So any financial professional will tell you, if you invest $549 a year and you get $63,000 a year back, you take it and run. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anita, come on up. Name and address, please.
Thank you. Anita Ryan, 37 Baker Hill Drive. $7 million in site work. $7 million in site work. I am concerned with the cost of this project, and I don't think we as a town can afford it. There's another aspect of cost here that no one's ever talked about, at least I haven't heard it, that Hingham does not own this land free and clear. What does that mean? Well, Hingham's ownership of this land is tied to a number of conditions and restrictions and limitations. You can find the deed online. And one of those restrictions is public use in perpetuity. So I don't think you can prevent the public from using the facilities on this site, whether it's the bocce court, the yoga on the grass. And there was no mention of excluding anyone in the materials submitted to the National Park Service. It was described to the National Park Service as an intergenerational facility. Now, the federal government under this deed, which you can find at Book 3917, page 327, allows the federal government to reclaim this land if Hingham breaches any conditions of the grant, such as public use. That includes any building that we invest and put on this land paid by the Hingham taxpayer. The federal government can reclaim this land if it determines it's needed for national defense. Now, you could say, this is ridiculous. They're never going to take this land. But this is a third party we have no control over who has the ability to reclaim this land. Do the taxpayers know about this? Should they know about this? Has this ever been mentioned? Well, you could say the risk is so low. We haven't talked about it. But isn't that something that the taxpayer should make the determination? Isn't that about transparency? There's another tract of land within the Naval Ammunition Depot. It's called School Tract 2. That's where 100 Beale is. Yes, 100 Beale. Well, there was another parcel in that in School Tract 2 that was subject to the same sort of restrictions as Bear Cove Park. And the federal government forced Hingham to revert 3 acres of it back to it because Hingham never used the land for a school. So that just demonstrates this is not something I'm making up in terms of the federal government coming in and taking the land just as it's entitled to under this Federal Land to Parks program. And you can say, well, the National Park Service, they granted us a categorical exemption. We're in the free and clear. No, that doesn't change the ability of the federal government to reclaim the land under the deed. And the irony is that when I spoke to the National Park Service, it was them who actually informed me in the tone of, does Hingham really know that the federal government can come in and take this land? It was that person that told me. Now, how comfortable are you with the information that was presented to the National Park Service and what they signed off on and why? Categorical exemptions are subject to challenge. Based on the circumstances in the record, and when you dig deep in what was submitted, there were slippery facts used here in this application. And this categorical exemption is ripe for challenge. The provisions in this deed allowing it to be reverted back to the U.S. government never expire on this lot. The taxpayer investment on this land is never in the full or complete control of Hingham because of these deed restrictions. Now let's talk about the town finances. This site is unnecessarily costly. We are spending a significant amount of taxpayer dollars to cut down hundreds of trees, some of which have been growing for over 100 years, only to spend taxpayer money to buy large trees for landscaping to create a green corridor in the middle of a parking lot. I do not see how we can afford this large development project. Without factoring spending for the new Center of Active Living or the town wharfs, the cumulative unfunded backlog for capital spending in fiscal year 2028 is projected to be $8.2 million. By the fiscal year 2030, the unfunded backlog for capital spending is projected to be $10 million. These are the numbers that were in the warrant. What is going to be the impact on this spending and this backlog that's unfunded on public education, on other services? We don't have enough assets in this town to sell that will collect that amount of money. We are spending more money that we do not have is not a way out of this problem. It exacerbates it. Where is the fiscal responsibility, and are we dooming future generations to serious shortfalls and material spending cuts? Spending $30 million on a Center for Active Living isn't something we can do in a vacuum. It needs to be part of a larger fiscal responsibility plan where we have figured out how we are going to afford the things we need to spend money before we start spending money on the things we want. Where are we now? We have a senior center that's a big lemon. And I know I keep hearing about parking. I encourage people in the interim while we're here, if you ever need parking and you're able to go to an exercise class and you can walk, please put in 407 Main Street into your GPS. I did that tonight. I parked at the 100 field space or parking lot space at Haley Field, walked right over.
Whoa. Hey. Go ahead. She has the right to speak.
Thank you. I walked right over and into the back of the building. There's also an 11-acre parcel of land that is available and fits a project of this size right in the center of Hingham, that according to the building committee's meeting minutes, I don't think was ever considered by the building committee. I encourage you to take a closer look at that parcel. That parcel across the street from the high school is free and clear from development with no restrictions. No third party could take that land away. No one can reclaim it, and I don't think it would have $7 million in site work. Another idea, 222 Beale Street. That's the site of Hitchcock Shoes, if any of you are familiar with it. That's just come up for sale. It's a large site right on the road across from Bear Cove Park. It's an existing building that could be repurposed at significantly less cost. It already has infrastructure, plenty of parking. It would be owned by Hingham, free and clear with no restrictions. I encourage you to look at 225 Beale Street. Proposal projects in Hingham are not given. As history or Hingham taxpayers have demonstrated, we rejected free turf fields and lights on Ward Street. We rejected a pool at Plymouth River. We rejected a police station for Central Street. A skating rink was rejected for Bear Cove Park. A housing development was rejected for the country club. A residential neighborhood was rejected for World's End. People don't understand where the senior center is going to go. I would ask you and encourage you to please put up a sign, proposed center or proposed location. I just met a woman today who's gone through the Citizens Academy. She had no idea where this building was going to go. She did know it's going to have a media room, but she had no idea where it was going to go. I fully appreciate that we're all doing our best here, and I know everyone has the best intentions. and I don't doubt that for a second. There are members of the public that have been advocating for the protection of this land from development for generations. John Richardson, who was the first chair of the Bear Cove Park Committee, wrote to President Nixon describing how important it was to preserve this land in its natural state and not let it to be decimated by development. And he even got a response, not from President Nixon. So I'm here today and I'm reminding you that the Hingham taxpayer that this is not the right project at the right time. We need to spend our tax dollars more wisely and more prudently. And you are also taking precious natural resources away from our children and our children's children, and that is too high a price to pay. Thank you.
I know right there, with the white sweater, come on up, and then I'm going to go online, and then we'll come back to the room, okay?
I want to thank you for your presentation and everyone for all the wonderful.
Name and address, please.
My name is Marcy Breyer. I'm new to Hingham. I moved to Beale Street last fall. And I want to tell you why I bought my townhouse on Beale Street predominantly was because I faced Bear Cove Park. And I've met about 8 out of 10 of the people who I know here at Bear Cove Park. I walk there about 3 times a day. I see many, many elderly people. It's truly an intergenerational place as well as a gem that needs to be protected and preserved. And I know this doesn't have anything to do with your financial plan, which I want to compliment you on. It's very lovely, and you did all the work and all the mathematics, and you all obviously have put a lot and invested a lot into this calculation. But I also want to say how important it is to every age person in the community to have this park. I mean, we need the trees to produce oxygen. You were talking about creating a walking path. There are many, many seniors who walk on the walking paths in Bear Cove Park. I know you want a bigger senior center. I have nothing against that. In fact, I've been in the fitness industry. I trained seniors when I lived on the Cape for 20 years, and I think it's a great idea. I took care of my 90-something-year-old mother who did Pilates well into her 90s with me because I'm a trained teacher. And I have no problem with that. But just as Anita said, there are many other options than raising down trees and valuable ground only to try to replace it with turf that will hold back the water. We already have turf that holds the water. The tree roots hold the water. It's a natural gem, and we need to have this not only for seniors and as a place to possibly extend in the future. I mean, that gave me shivers down my spine, that's a potential not only to build this present building, but to potentially see it for future development. I mean, that horrified me because I'm actually the future of Hingham if I stay here as a resident, not necessarily only the nonagenarians. I think you have to think of all of the generations and be kind to all of the generations. In that park, I've met newborn babies, young families, bazillions of runners and walkers and dog walkers, and as I said, you know, most of my friends. So I want to consider that as a huge cost to humans, to humanity, to the environment that is not being considered in this budget whatsoever. So I thank you for your time, for your work, and I hope you can find another home for this important senior center and be considerate and consider the wildlife, the many bird species, the trees, the plants, the natural environment that we have too little of. We don't have too little of building and destroying the environment. We have too little of protecting it. And I think that's what we need to do for the future generations. And those are the people that really are the future of Hingham. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I know we have some people online. Brittany, who's been on the longest? Is it Diane? Or? All right, before we go to the comments online, I'm going to ask people again. We are focusing on costs tonight, so if you can focus your question or comments on that topic, that would be appreciated. So let's go to Diane DiNapoli. Diane, if you could state your name and address, that would be great.
Hi, Diane DiNapoli, 16 Gardner Street. Thank you for taking my comment. I will be brief. I have a comment and a brief question for the OPM. The comment's more a general one. I know everyone is very passionate and has a bit fatigued, I think, with this project to some degree, but I have been concerned on numerous meetings that I feel people who have asked very important questions have been met with some tones and in fact name calling. And I really don't think that's who we are as Hingham residents and Hingham volunteers. And I think the questions about square footage and the cost of it, utilization numbers, and the agreed 5 benchmark data is going to be what voters will need to get at town meeting and the ballot. So I appreciate that tonight that's being discussed again, but please, we all are on the same page. We are just trying to ask questions. And on that vein, I do have a question for the OPM. I'm sorry, I couldn't see all the details on your first chart that kind of gave the increase of building costs the last 5 years. How are you allocating the budget for 25 to 50% increase for tariffs and things like the wood, steel, furniture? Where do you think in a year and a half, what's your allocation for what will probably be a significant increase in cost for a lot of the materials we need? Thank you.
Dan, you want to take that?
Sure. The estimates do account for escalation. I don't have the exact percentage, but I am happy to, we are going to post all of the estimates we did, including the reconciliation. And there is a line in there for escalation that the two estimators agreed would cover the project. And escalation is not a direct correlation to inflation, but a multitude of numbers that make up what escalation would be, of which inflation is part of it, trends in prices that are going up and down, such as steel and lumber. Lumber's actually down right now and steel's up. If you had asked me 6 months ago, steel was down, lumber's up. So it's varying about as quickly as the federal government varies the policy. So they have a formula, and it seems to work really well. And the fact that we're doing the estimates at the design development stage and the 50% CD phase will get us even closer to the target, and that escalation number will come down.
Dan, thank you. Diane, thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Next up is Hillary Hosmer. Hillary Hosmer, go ahead. Name and address, please.
Hillary Hosmer, 204 Linden Ponds Way, Hingham. I thank you very much for answering my question about the traffic costs. I also sent a question in to Bill Ramsey asking you to summarize the ecological cost. I won't go into detail, but there'll be an increase in temperature if trees are cut down. There'll be a tremendous loss of wildlife if trees are cut down in the midst of the Atlantic Flyway. Tell me what you have considered in ecological cost as part of this project.
Can you answer that?
I can't answer that exact question. Tonight we're focusing purely on financial costs.
We'll do our best to get you that answer, Hillary. I did see your email. As you know, I have been responding to you when I know the answers. I did not know the answer to that question, but thank you. All right, let's go to John Borger. John, name and address, please.
John Borger, 53 Lafayette Avenue. I commend the committee and all the amazing work that's been done to translate the programming needs for seniors into this design. I do have a question on costs for Dan, and my question is as follows. $7 million in site preparation costs over a total project of $30 million. That's 23.3% of the total cost of the project for site preparation. Number one, is that an outlier? Is that typical for projects like this? Number two, is the building design more or less portable? By that I mean, if you were presented with a site which did not require a $7 million investment in preparation, that already had water, electricity, sewer, all the utilities, did not require trees to be cut down, was a level pasture, how much of that 7 million could be saved, and could you, with minimal cost increases, be able to translate the current design to that site? Where I'm going is, this all begs the question, are we building on the wrong site? And are we locked into a site that perhaps is not optimal when there's a better site on Union Street, right across from the high school, that would support Glenn Mangurian's urgings for intergenerational programming? So I'll stop because I know it's late. That's my question. Appreciate an answer. Thank you. I support the center. I plan to vote for it. But like everybody, we don't want to pay a lot for this muffler.
From each site's proportion to total project cost varies based on the site. This site is not an overly difficult site. Based on the boring reports, based on the geotechnical reports. We don't have water and sewer. We got to bring it down the street. We do have a lot of outdoor programming that's part of the program. That's the hardscape that we talked about, that the designer talked about. Those are about the two items that are a little bit more than you might see elsewhere, but we also don't have pickleball courts. New senior centers today have pickleball courts. So it varies by site and it varies by program. I don't think this is an out-of-control percentage with regard to the total project cost.
Thank you. And I'll take one more online, and then we'll go back to the room. I see a hand up there. So Mary Power, go ahead.
Good evening, Mary Power, 1 King Philip Path. Thanks to everybody for being there. I'd like to also just thank the members of the advisory committee. In the last few meetings, you have all asked very thoughtful, constructive questions, many of which members of the community have, so thank you for that. My question is that at last week's meeting, there was perhaps the possibility that utility operating cost data would be available tonight. I was wondering if that's available, and before I remute myself, I also just want to say that I agree completely with Diane DiNapoli's comments with respect to the tone and with respect to some of this meeting tonight. Thank you.
Tom, do you want to discuss utility?
Chris may be able to cover the electrical costs. I'm waiting for numbers still from our sewer and water department for the annual anticipated sewer and water costs.
We have both numbers.
Go ahead.
Oh, do you have them?
We do.
Great.
The annual electric costs for the building are slated to be somewhere around $35,000. And the annual sewer cost is?
It was about 1,000. Yeah.
It was about $1,000. $1,000. Sewer.
Water and sewer.
Water and sewer. Water and sewer, 1,000, electric costs, 35,000.
Great, thank you for the question. Go back to the room. Yvette, go ahead.
Hi, Yvette Cantor, 442 Main Street. I hear all the conversation, and I do agree with everyone. We're all trying to get to the right place. The most important thing, though, to remember is this is about the seniors. So there is cost, there is space, there is all those other things, but it's also about the seniors. It's about people who need this support. They're telling you themselves. So as we're talking about costs tonight, if we really do not have the money to build a center for active living for our seniors, they're over 30% of our population. I can't imagine we have enough money to do any of the other things we need to do either. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, not seeing any other hands up. All right, so I think at this point, we're going to allow we have some other business to attend to. Going to allow first AdCom to dismiss their members, and then the building committee can adjourn their meeting as well. So, Carol, go ahead.
Hey, make the motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Did you adjourn your meeting, Tom?
Yes, the building committee has adjourned.
Okay, great. If everybody could leave the room orderly, we do have some quick business to attend to. Thank you. Thank you all for attending. All right, everybody, if you could move out orderly, please.
Very nice job, nice presentation. I was glad we helped you with your coat the last month you were down here. Yeah, very nice, very nice. I'm sure you got your guy very well. Very articulate. Something. Do you still do it? Still a lot in that crate.
All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. Does anyone have any public comment this evening? Seeing none, I'm going to move to the next item, which is Town Administrator Select Board Reports, and I'll start with Brittany. Brittany? All right, you have anything?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Tom?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Julie?
I don't have anything.
Liz?
Just very quickly, the Sustainable Budget Task Force met. We have reconvened, as I've mentioned before, and we are looking at updating many of the data sets in the report, so more to come, but that is what we'll be working on over the next 2 weeks. So a lot of the information, the benchmarking from the DOR, as well as looking at our tax rates relative to our benchmark towns, that will help inform this process, the calculator for the Center for Active Living project we are very actively working on over the next 2 weeks. So thank you to that group.
Great, appreciate your good work there. I know it's a lot, so thank you. I have nothing to report tonight. So with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. We are adjourned. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for the
Thank you.
discussion. Appreciate it.